in response to Twitch Renata hyper carry lane that we spoke about. We see the Renata Kalista being talked about a lot. This is the more hyper scaling version of it that doesn't necessarily have the early lane dominance, but come around that level 11 mark, the 3-item mark or whatever. It is going to be very, very powerful as we head into the second ban phase now. Some blind pick top lane has been taken away from Mirage, which maybe speaks to me that they want to lock in. They want to lock in a top laner on 4. Oh, yeah, I've completely missed that. Sorry, rude dude. This is the downside of being thrown into a draft like this.
It's okay. Don't worry. They've locked in the Ornn. They've still got to pick their bot laner, and you can see that Misfits Premier are just sort of going for pseudo answers, I guess, to the Renata. This is a laning, or these are bans to things that don't necessarily give Renata the worst time in the lane, but a little bit out of lane. You can have your own hyper carry that really starts to pop off. I think that Yuumi, maybe not the ban I would have gone for. We still have things like Lulu on the table, if I'm not mistaken. Karma as well sits there. Potential for an Ezreal Karma lane to come through and give Mirage a little bit of power in the early stages to try and bully out this rat in the early game. Make sure that they have got that chance, that opportunity to find a bot lane sort of dominant area to try and play through. And, that's kind of why they ban away the Karma. Doesn't necessarily get rid of the Ezreal entirely, but it does get away one of his better pairings.
And if they do go, like you speak about the Lulu being on the table there, if it is something they opt into, is it the case that it favors the composition that they're building already? Can they find a bot lane counterpart that will do okay into the Twitch Renara? Obviously, we think about the Cog Lulu being a very strong lane.
I think they can go for... Okay, well, they're going to go... It looks like Xayah Rakan. There's nothing really that Misfits Premier can do to stop that. Xayah, at the very least, locked in up against a Wukong. Definitely not a bad idea to get a little bit of peel going. But I think that, if they'd have opted into that Lulu, they would have had a good chance. Not something that we need to touch on, though, now. They can still go for it, but it's not looking too likely. Misfits Premier need to try and find their solo lane as their answer to the Azir and their answer to the Ornn in the top lane. Veigar was picked all the way back in Season 8 Worlds as the answer to Azir when Azir was particularly prevalent. As Veigar was picked as the answer to him then, so coming back, trying to utilize the Veigar counter pick. Now, when he's much more prevalent in our meta anyway, Chayek's going to be in charge of the little Voidling, or the Void Mage in the mid lane. We'll have to see what the top lane pick is going to be. Missing some sort of engage to pair up with Sion, and they double down on that very nicely.
I'm not a massive fan of this draft from Misfits Premier. I feel like we've talked about them being a team that really struggles to get to that late game position. For me, Rude Dude, maybe you can find a little bit more clarity in this scenario, but what is the options in terms of what they can play for in this early game?
They've got to use Zanzara, and if he's playing as the cerebral spam gank style of jungler, then this is a really good pick to have him on. You can use Wukong level 6 to go pretty well, right? We know that this top lane likely going to be fairly unimpeded by both junglers. They're not really going to care all that much about making a Sion or an Ornn die and getting them an extra kill in the matchup. Mid lane and bot lane are going to be your focuses for the early game, and I think that in particular, when you have a Twitch on your side, a Veigar on your side who wants to set up and scale, if you can alleviate some of their woes, concerns that they may have during the early stages, having a Wukong there to set up, it is going to be fairly good. It is going to come largely down to Zanzara. I think that there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders to gateway them through this early game and get them to a late game point that they're going to be happy with. But overall, I don't think it's too horrendous. This composition has its identity, right? We've got 2 front lines, we've got Enchanter in the back, and 2 back lines. It team fights very well. Side lane's not going to be particularly relevant in this game, since we've got effectively 2 same styles of team composition, where we have Ornn and Rakan this time diving into the front line for Mirage, and then you've got Graves, who acts as a bit of a front line, honestly, with the way you want to be playing Graves for its maximum effectiveness, and then Xayah and Azir both in the back line, dishing out damage. It is just death balls from either side, and at that point, it's whoever comes away with those early game leads, and I think that the tools in the early game certainly benefit into a Rakan.
Yeah, so I guess my question then would be, and I think you've touched on it slightly there, is for a team like Misfits Premier, we've spoken about them previously just now, about how they need to get to this late game assurance. There's obviously the composition they built scales very well with the Sion, Veigar, Twitch, Renata. Do Mirage have tools to stop them from getting to this point, or have they really played into the hands of allowing that hyper death ball rolling towards that in ultimate?
Yeah, I don't know that they have the tools. I don't know that they have the tools to stop the engagements that are going to be coming through. There's an Ornn that's going to be very scary on the engagement front. We're going to have to find out, wait and see. We're going to cut to a quick video, but then come into the game. and welcome back, everybody. Game number 2 of the day. Misfits Premier going up against Mirage, Elyandra. Two teams not yet in the top standings of the table. Currently, actually, Mirage do have the playoff place just because they beat BDS Academy, who are also the only other team at 1 and 2. But it's still very early on. Still has been fairly disappointing starts to both of these teams' splits. Negative win rates, not what you want to see. And they're both going to be looking to turn that one around here.
Yeah, completely. I mean, Mirage actually only one game away from getting an equal win rate, Rude Dude. So you know that's quite a nice little mathematical prospect for them here. But speaking of the mathematical layout of the map so far, pretty standard covers being offered by both sides, not going for anything too crazy in this early game. And I'm expecting to see Memento pathing down into towards this bot lane. And probably Wukong as well. It's unlikely to me that they're going to be playing towards these, this tank versus tank matchup, but we did see yesterday, I can't remember who it was, we questioned Yike pathing into the tank versus tank matchup, and then he actually just turned the situation on his head and just like made us look like idiots, Rude Dude. So, you know.
It's why I'm hesitant always to tell people they're clearing the wrong way, unless it's very obvious. And
well,
you know,
the Wukong is opting to do the similar thing. We saw Yike, like I've just previously mentioned, do a similar thing here, where he utilized this clear. He cleared upwards, warded the camps level 2, and then played towards that Rift Herald at the 8-minute mark. We're going to see Memento pathing towards the bot side, probably potentially missing the Krugs, or might opt in for the full clear. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he does that. Zanzara, for the most part, should be going for that full clear, I'd imagine.
For poison, make sure that the Twitch doesn't walk away with a red buff into the laning phase. Should be fine.
That's not, these guys are professional players, Rude Dude. Yeah. That's not going to happen. That's an engage from Raxo early. Ignite does come down onto Woolite. Heavy trading comes out in response from Vander. Ignite. Woolite is trying to find a few more auto attacks. Heal does come down to find a little bit more aggression. Cody Sun going to get chunked out quite a ways here. It's a good trade that I think goes advantage Misfits Premier 100%.
Yeah, it does. Just a quite poor spacing from the bot lane of Mirage right there. Raxo goes in when Cody's in no position to follow up. It's about a second and a half of wasted downtime on the Xayah W, and you can see that it really does cost them. They do get the heal and the ignite.
Zanzara does manage to walk in here and get the blue buff. He should be alerted to it as of the fact that there was a ward offered there by Azir that saw that the Raptor camp is still up, so that does raise some suspicions, especially around about this time where he should be moving towards the Raptors now. He's going to meet the Graves on Wolves here. Not have the level advantage. Memento goes around, but he's going to get spotted out here. Here comes Renata.
Oh, no.
Raxo's here as well. Raxo's level 1 though. Zanzara might be in a little bit of trouble here. Has the W available. He's going to get away. Can Raxo find the engage here? He finds it. Zanzara has to flash, and there's going to be Zanzara walking away with some of these bot side camps, but has to flash in return.
Oh, it's so close. I mean, there's a world where Zanzara can try and enact a wolf and, you know, kill the wolves, try and base there and get away with things. He does burn the flash to get out to safety, all told, and it does give the camp back over to Memento. It is obviously still fairly beneficial in terms of the jungle clear in favor of Zanzara. He's able to steal away a couple of camps, will likely now be able to go back to his top side, clear those out as well, and have an advantage. Now this just gives a lot of time for Memento to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Memento he'll be able to go back to his camps now. Unfortunately, I mean, you do say it gives him a lot of time to do what he wants, but important to note is that Zanzara
to go for the ganks more than anything.
Yeah, but Zanzara is going to be able to have the ability to cycle these topside camps. Going to be about 3 camps or so ahead now. Memento does have these level 2 camp topside camps to look forward to, but he's obviously down somewhat of a deficit now. Does have that Raptor camp warded, but his next steps are very important to note.
And this is one of those things where you're just saying to your laners as Zanzara, don't play aggressive. The only play that Graves has is to gank. He has no camps up because they stole away, and this is what I was sort of trying to allude to, is that Memento has time on the map to do what he wants because there's nothing to do in his jungle. And this ward now, he's just going to alert, okay, we can play safe, we can play aggressive bot side, but maybe I need my solo laners to potentially come hover me. That ward there is just spotting out Zanzara on his clear. And this early game for Misfits Premier actually going very well. A bit of a gamble, I suppose, from Zanzara in owing to the bot lane 1v or 2v2 that went so heavily in favor of Misfits Premier, and getting away with a nice invade, flashing into the Vague Arcade. Never what we want to see, Rangjun.
Well, he doesn't really have any options, you know. Once it comes down, he's stuck in there.
Not get stunned.
How does he do that?
There's always a choice.
Be quicker. There's always a choice, is there?
Stay inside. Stay inside it. Dodge the W. Don't get stunned.
Yeah, okay, Rude Dude. You're picking at feathers here, and you're not even Xayah.
Oh, I know.
Nice little trade there from Irrelevant in our tank versus tank matchup. I hope the observers don't make us look at this for too much longer.
Decimating smash.
Yeah, return Q from Ornn there. It's lovely stuff to see. A bit of a resonant sleeper matchup. But important to note is that is going to be a scaling matchup that allows a lot of utility for both of these teams. We see this bot lane wave crashing in here. Cody Sun and Rax are going to take an early base here. Woolite and Van are going to be staying here for a little bit longer. Both junglers are circled around this bot side now, but it is going to be the case that Zanzara continues to build up his lead in that jungle farm.
And now, obviously, with this Wukong slightly accelerated in the matchup, it means that he's going to hit level 6 a little bit earlier, and it means that Zanzara's playmaking potential will certainly be ready a little bit earlier, potentially, than Memento was expecting, than potentially the entirety of Mirage are expecting. We talked about this early game needing to be largely focused around the Misfits Premier jungle, and I think that he's been facilitated for that quite nicely. He's got these tools with the early stealing away of camps to get to that early level 6, potentially punish onto Cody Sun and Raxo.
Here's Raxo, finds an engage onto Woolite here. Ignite does go down, he's in the queue, able to find his way out of there with the stealth, but Ignite is burned by Raxo. Wukong's off to the side here, Memento's waiting in the bush.
They all just say hello. And, you know, slight engage in the bot side. Zanzara is on a pink here, so needs to, you know, clear that out or back off to safety. And this is when we start to look at that mid lane, see who's got priority, who's cheating toward the right side. Zanzara going for this crab, but I don't think that's going to be too successful.
He finds a lot of damage onto Raxo. Raxo's going to have to walk out here. Important to note is that a kill was gained there, actually, by Vander. Cody Sun uses both sums there and dies. We didn't quite get to have a look at that, but I'm sure that it was executed in the best way possible.
I think it's probably just handshake and then death. I think that's the only way that you die to this Twitch Renata lane, unless Woolite just stealthed in on 300 HP and took the ego check, potentially.
We'll be seeing if we can maybe get like a replay of that. There's going to be a slight bit of downtime here. So.
Importantly, it gives Zanzara the crab, just because of that kill and then the bleed over from all that. Yeah, and it looks like it's just Woolite goes in invisible. And...
Oh, that's poor from Cody though. Cody, you know, does a nice little flash E there to pull the feathers back, but it is the case he walks up slightly too far there. The wave's coming in. Doesn't need to go for that. Thinks that the play is in the river, probably panning his camera towards there, but it's going to be the case that it's unfortunate, but first blood does go over to Misfits Premier, and in contrast to how some of the other games are going, a very good start for them, Rude Dude.
Yeah, they've got kills, you know, in that bot lane, not necessarily onto Woolite, which is going to be their late game source of damage. But, you know, it's a good start. And importantly, it's not just kills onto, or it's not just kills for their bot lane, it's kills on the enemy bot lane. It's slowing down Cody Sun's speed at which he's getting into the game, slowing down how fast Zaya can get items. And in the late stages of this game, when we look forward to Mirage's win conditions, it's going to be the Azir and the Zaya in the late game, carrying the late game team fights off the back of the front line that Memento, Bad Lulu, and Raxo.
Off to the side now. Misfits Premier are all here. They've moved all members here. It's an ultimate from Rangjun to try and dissuade the engage. Ornn comes out in response here. Cody Sun stuck in a cage now. He's taken out immediately by Woolite. And it's going to be Raxo gets taken quite low there. Gets taken into the air by the decimating smash. But it is going to be the case that Bad Lulu does get that Rift Herald, but Cody Sun, another unfortunate death. He's going to be getting choked out a little bit more further by a lack of farm.
And just not positioned up there with the team, gets cut off a little bit, and unfortunately goes down. Not level 6, doesn't have that Feather Storm to get out to safety. And now, obviously, down 0-2, not having the best of times. That kill goes to Woolite, kill in the right spot once again for Misfits Premier. A really good showcase off their early game. They don't get the Herald. It is, you know, given over to Mirage, so that is something they can look to play with.
It's on Ornn though.
Exactly, it is on Bad Lulu. It means that it is going to go into this top lane unless he looks for a eccentric TP play.
Yeah, eccentric TP play into a potential beneficial fight might yield them some bot lane plates. You could also see him maybe move into the mid lane for it, but plates not necessarily where you want to be seeing them is on the Ornn. Not going to be getting too much benefit from that, so it's a bit of a shame in that regard, but a kill for Woolite is going to mean that he gets accelerated further and further ahead towards that hyper carry point. He's kind of functions in a similar way that we see this Jinx Renata lane that we've seen today already, but he's going to be even scarier in certain ways if he can get that range there, as Memento dodges out from Shy XE.
Nicely done using the quick draw there. But, excuse me, with 3 people hovering around this mid lane here, it is going to give that little bit of time over to the Misfits Premier bot side to, do what they want with this bot lane. And right now, it's continually forcing Cody Sun back to base, it looks like, has just taken another reset to pick up a pickaxe, which is, fairly bare bones in terms of where you're looking for your items to come through. You really want to be hitting that Gale Force or Kraken Slayer at this point. You can see the difference in the ADC's gold is about 700. It's not particularly insurmountable yet. There's a difference between our junglers as well, but the mid lane, or the bot lane, excuse me, really where that gold lead is stemming from, and then just slight advantages everywhere else.
Yeah, that is the majority of your lead, but it's not exactly a massive lead thus far for Misfits Premier. I think what makes it more impressive is just how dreadful some of these early games have been for them in terms of they're able... Well, it's not necessarily they've had dreadful early games. They have sometimes, but in some of these games you feel like almost they've drafted for this late game and then they do everything in their power to make the road along as bumpy as possible, but no bumps in the road thus far for Misfits Premier.
We need to see them continue now to potentially try and hem in on this lead that they've got. Doing a pretty good job once again down in this bot side, just lowering Cody's health pool every single time. Take a look at your AD carry levels, ladies and gentlemen. Woolite level 8 against Cody Sun's level 6. The base stats from levels are incredibly important, right? Roughly, this is a broad approximation, but accurate to within about 50 gold. Every level gives you about 500 gold's worth of statistics. So when you get a 2-level lead, that's 1,000 intangible gold of an advantage that Woolite has. This is what is making this bot lane so easy for him to just dominate.
I never knew that, Rude Dude. You really elucidated my entire framework of understanding.
It's accurate except for enchanter supports.
Round of applause for Rude Dude there. Really bringing a lot of colour to this cast with some nice knowledge.
I have a spreadsheet with all the numbers.
Oh, really? You're the number man. You're like Rain Man. You're the Rain Man of the LFL.
Oh, I did make the spreadsheet in fairness. But yeah, I have all of the juice there. It has Medjai's value as well, if that ever.
This is one of those things where, like, in hindsight, I'm probably the only one that didn't know this, and like the whole chat knew it because they're all experts.
This is Rudu's private knowledge.
Only you know this.
Well, only I have the spreadsheet. So if anybody else wants to make their own, they're more than entitled.
I think other people might know that.
Yeah, I think so as well. I know I've said it before as well. I've said it before, so people listen to me.
Stop pretending that you've broken the mold on how much gold levels are worth.
I didn't. I was just telling the uncultured like yourself.
You're a fraud, Rude Dude. I don't like how you spun that back onto me at the end there. That's very rude of you. Living up to your name once again. You are good at gaslighting, and it's worrying. Speaking of gas that might get lit, Anton on the rat here going in aggressively. Cody Sun has to heal here. He's been going, it's a flash forward from Wu, like the poison does tick. And that is some lit gas in the face of Cody Sun as he goes back to base for his 3rd death of the game.
Okay, so a really nice, again, engagement down on that bot side. This is where Misfits Premier have found an advantage and they just keep battering down the hatches. All 3 kills so far onto Cody Sun. Doesn't burn flash there, gets his heal wasted and still falls for the play. Raxo is here, Mento as well, but I don't know that they've got the damage first off to try and cut through this Twitch. Durability pack 26 quite difficult. Then you've got a Renata as well. The exit damage that they're going to take from the Twitch is also going to be very, very palpable.
Yeah, Raxo going to go in here, but it's going to be Vander stopping his base. Why poor? Why poor?
He didn't walk in front of it. He had vision on the Rikon the entire time. It should have walked in front of Woolite.
It's a slap on the wrist. You're talking more about him being delayed, but it's nice that they get to go back to base together, is it not?
Tell Wool like that.
Yeah, well, I can't actually speak to him right now, Rude Dude, because we're actually in the middle of a cast. We're kind of like...
Woolite right now is very angry at Vander. So why didn't you block the Q? And they're probably going to, I don't know, have a talk about that one after the game. Oh.
Anyway, Raxo trades positions with Zanzara, but he gets back to Cody Sun in immediate effect. Zanzara's hovering heavily around this bot side, but you can imagine that would be the case, given that it is a tank versus tank matchup in the top side.
Cody here. Go on.
Yes, you can. He's used the E, so he doesn't have the gap closer, but Cody Sun has flash and ult available.
Strike will remain unnimbused for Cody Sun. Never a doubt that he was going to be safe. I think next to Zanzara, who's just taking the entire jungle. It is worth noting, Memento is getting a Herald in exchange for this. It will be the second Herald that goes the way of Mirage. It is also worth noting that first Herald did absolutely nothing. It got placed in the top lane and Irrelevant killed it before it charged.
Engaged onto Chayek, but it's a very good flash. Raxo's caught in the cage now, dodges out a few of the abilities though. And it's going to mean a crucial cooldowns, the quickness and the flashes burnt from Raxo there.
Do you remember when I said...
Where are they going to put this Herald?
Remember when I said don't get stunned? That's how you don't get stunned.
You're so clever.
Raxo didn't walk into the cage and he didn't get stunned.
Really?
Yep. Rangjun should learn from that.
Well, it's a good job. You know, the person he has to learn from is on his team, so it's probably quite easy for them to learn from each other. That's very good.
This is another point now in the game where Memento has nothing to do on the Rift. He has no camps to take, so he has this Herald in his back pocket and likely going to try and put it down within the next couple of seconds or so. I imagine that, you know, with nothing left to do, you're probably just thinking, well, here we go. Herald play. I think it's time for Herald. And you can see him now.
I think it's more likely that they slow push this wave here. The Sion's going to be the one matching because you can see the Twitch top. Slow push the wave, crash it into the Sion with that Herald. You might not even need to. It's quite low, but it would be nice to get at least a turret to open up the map a little bit more for the team.
Whether they can get past the Sion is the question. Herald is like the one way to cheat a Sion in this case because he can proxy in the face of this Azir.
Yeah.
They say no.
They're not going to opt into it. Potentially might use
I
that.
prefer my Baron recall. Thank you.
we need to run some sort of like rude dudes drills with the LFL players, where you like teach them how to do very innocuous basic tasks, like not walking into Veigar cage.
We're min-maxing, okay? Don't get stunned. Block your Rakan Qs like your ADC base.
It's not doing min-maxing. It's doing the bare minimum. But speaking of minimums that might be gained, Zanzara goes in here. Might look for a counter engage. It's Wu like rattling away at that turret there. Veigar moving towards the mid lane now. Here comes an engage though. Zanzara's onto Cody's son. He can't quite find it. Gets the ultimate out in response. Spin to win. Monkey spin.
We did it. He is winning, but did not win that engagement. Ult for ult is an even trade. Wukong's teamfight presence certainly decreases when he doesn't have that Cyclone available. Rangjun now in trouble.
Rangjun is caught in that. He unfortunately didn't. He also didn't walk into the Veigar cage there, but he's going to get taken out by Zanzara. One more turret shot will do it. Well, he's really proved you right.
Don't get stunned.
You right there. Don't get stunned and win. That's great.
There you go. Thank you. I mean, hey, I'm not saying that I say these things for a reason, but I say these things for a reason. I think, you know, that was really well played from Rangjun, honestly. He steps away from the Everfrost stun, steps away from the W damage, just unfortunately gets a little bit too much unavoidable damage, really, with the Nimbus Strike. I think he does take a Q from Chayek, so, you know, lands one of them, and then an ulti. Does get a trade back. Best case scenario, honestly, in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we spoke about how they might, because they opted into not using that Rift Herald in the bot lane, where with that Rift Herald come, it does come beneficial 1-for-1 for them. They're able to use that. Get the mid turret quite low. It means that potentially Rangjun, as he ramps up to some of these items, might be able to get the push against the Veigar, move some members into that mid lane to try and take that down, open up that side of the map. It is getting to a point now, that third dragon, that do you think Memento and Co or Mirage are in tandem and in an ability to contest that dragon?
I'd say that they want to. The issue that I have is Cody's son picked up a call about 50 CS ago and is still nowhere near completing it. This was very late purchase, like 90 CS purchase.
I didn't even notice that. That's crazy.
Yeah, neither did I. I just thought I'd take a quick check, a quick peruse, you know, oh, what sort of item spikes are they hitting in the near future? And Cody's item spike is, well, I'm going to cash in fairly soon. 18, 19 minutes into the game.
That's a better name. That's a better name for your little show that you're going to do, your segment. Rude Dudes Perusal.
Rude Dudes Perusal. Nice.
That's been greenlit by production.
Thank you, production. Thank you,
production. Can we get a sign from production, like a little shimmy of the camera? If you do, well, hang on a second here. Rangjun goes in here aggressively onto Chayek. He does find him. Teleports are coming out in response here. Memento's taking a lot of damage. Chayek goes low. He gets the ultimate out in response. Just about. Irrelevant has tried to find the ultimate here. He's going to try and get Memento with Zanzara and Co. Raxo on the other side tries to get Vander, but he gets stunned out there. Hostile takeover from Vander. Zanzara's trying to be found here. Rangjun goes on a killing spree. It's a big fight for Memento and Co on Mirage. They find 2 kills off an engage from Rangjun, and this is the signs of life that we wanted to see from Mirage.
Really good, really nice stuff, and just picking a fight where the Fed Twitch is not. They're capitalizing on the map moves that Misfits Premier make. using their time in the top side to get a kill, get a couple in fact, and they take down the Veigar, they take down the Wukong, who have proven to be so dominant in this matchup through the early stages of the game. Woolite may look to get something back here, and just look at this nice play. Really good from Rangjun, steps up, knows the limit on the shuffle as well. Chayek does get forced back in and does very little effective damage here. Memento only down to 70%. Memento is unfortunately going to be sacrificed for this. I don't think Bad Lulu reactivated R2 right there, which probably would have netted that.
No, he actually, there's a really weird thing that happens here where he walks slightly too close to the Wukong clone, and Wukong activates ult in clone and cancels his ultimate. It's really like,
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of on Bad Lulu. He needs to be a little bit further away there to get that. I think it would have been a slightly more beneficial team fight, but they still walk away with 2 kills.
Yeah, it is really good, and it speaks to how well your team fights are going, that you don't use Ornn ultimates effectively and you still come away with the lead. Imagine what would happen when we use Ornn ultimate very well, and the team fight that we can start to think of through that. There's a really nice team fight as well for us to sort of look back and go, hey, you know, we painted this picture that there are 2 carries on this. One of them may be getting a little bit ruined in the early stages, but Rangjun is still very much a threat.
Yeah, I mean, Rangjun, we talked about his game 1 of the first week. We spoke about that Orianna, the immobile mage. He was constantly getting bullied out. He's having slightly more impressive games in the previous game. I think about the game against BDS Academy, for example. That was a real turnaround for me. And yet again in this game, he's being a pinnacle of hope for his team. 3-1 on that Azir, CSing quite well as well. Whether or not he can find the crucial Shurima shuffle is something that we've yet to see in this game, but he's definitely being looked towards as the man to make a difference in this game.
Okay. Oh, never mind. Production ruined it. I was going to say we should play the Veigar game again. I
didn't see it. Did you see it?
Right, well, yeah, I did. You can guess how much AP does Veigar have?
Right. Well, going off of last game, I'm trying to remember what you said. Like 610.
But he doesn't have completed Rabadons now.
Okay, so 540.
Okay. Production, tell him how wrong he is. Oh, never mind.
Woolite goes in here, though, aggressively. He's going to get stunned out here. Memento gets a lot of damage onto him. Raxo finds the quickness. It's going to be the hostile takeover. Decimating smash onto Cody's son. He has to flash away here. He's going rather low. Rangjun has found Twitch in the backline here. He still has Shurima shuffle if he finds those cooldowns. He gets Wukong as well. It's a double kill for Rangjun. And what looked like a very good opening from Woolite. He managed to survive a lot of the CC that came out, a lot of the damage from Memento, but he's able to get picked up there by Rangjun.
Regardless of Chayek's ability power, if you're not in the fight, it makes no difference. 2 kills to Mirage. They've taken down the jungler. 22 minutes into the game, and an Azir in this match. He can melt through the Baron. Misfits Premier now, they need to use this front line of Sion and Chayek exclusively really to stop this.
Chayek has to get here and find a zone. It goes down to 2k now. Memento does not get stunned out.
Stolen!
It's Chayek who comes up massive at the Baron. He's able to find a W that rains down terror for Mirage's chances in this game. And it's a Baron steal of dreams. Memento was not able to find the smite. And it says 700 on the score and 700 screams of anguish from all of Mirage's fan base.
Oh my, this is something that we're gonna have to learn. Again, you kind of have to turn versus Veigar. You can just outsmite. Simply put, Q plus W together will outsmite any jungler. I want to see what the health pools looks like, but we get the fight in the mid lane first of all. It's Woolite once again engaging with his face. A little bit similar to what we saw from Crowny yesterday, engaging in the face of a Rakan and immediately getting engaged on himself and, you know, costing the fight.
It's a poor flash from Woolite there as well. You see, he's not able to quite decide what direction he wants to commit to. But it's going to be the case that Rangjun was able to find him no matter what. They do get a very good pick there, and it means they're able to turn onto the Baron here. It goes quite low, but look at Chayek here. We spoke about how he needed to zone here. He needed to potentially look for the steal here. He walks up, gets the W down.
Yeah, 1k. There's no frame. Memento can't smite from 1005 HP.
Yeah, very unfortunate, absolute disaster for Mirage here as Misfits Premier. They looked rather shaky for a second there or so. They did build quite a good early game. We spoke about how they can have multiple bumps on the way in regards to getting towards that late game that they primed to themselves. Mirage had a chance there to cement themselves in this game, and it was taken away from them, but it is going to be unstoppable force from Irrelevant comes in here. The Ornn comes out in response here. Rangjun has found himself at the pin. It's a destruction from Chayek. A great E there. The baby cage does find 2 now.
I mean, that's
this
game.
could be them. This could be the end of the game now with 2 of your important members here that are going to be able to stop Misfits Premier being able to go forward here. Important to note is Vanda has both sums available, doesn't have that ultimate. It is going to be the case that they pivot towards this bottom side. Wave is coming in now.
Didn't have a wave for the mid lane. They had one minion really to try and work with, and it wasn't enough to do so. But Baby Cage, such a good zone control. They can force these turrets, force these inhibs so easily. Irrelevant, just standing in the front line, completely untarnished by the damage Cody's putting out. And right now, Misfits Premier, they had a bit of a shaky mid game, but that one Baron steal has flipped the coin and turned the tables right on their head.
Yeah, and important to note is in 20 seconds that Mountain Soul comes up further, which further puts a dent in the plans of Mirage. You talk about some of this damage numbers that they're going to be able to wanting to put out. It's just going to be met by a massive wall of that Mountain Soul, giving Misfits Premier. Yeah, not fun.
Any nightmare fuelers? That is absolutely terrifying to try and think about.
Also important to note is you have that Baus win condition open up now with both inhibitors turned up. With a Mountain Soul Scion charging in towards those turrets, it's going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, you can hit both Nexus turrets with Scion ult. You know, it may look like a bit of a wayward engage if you try to dive between 2 turrets, but it is just going to deal, you know, potentially up to 20-30% of those turrets' HP just from a Scion ulti. So, Irrelevant, with a weird amount of control into how this late game gets played out, can be the sort of menace for the team. He's going to get caught here. This is a hard HP pool to take down, I'm not going to lie.
They are not going to scratch him. And if they do, then Wulite can just go straight through the mid lane with a wave, these 2 waves stacking. They realize this is not the man you wanted to find in the side lane. They were hoping to find like a Veigar, for example, but it is irrelevant. The 1 point... If Shyek's there, it's a different game, but it is irrelevant, and their damage becomes irrelevant almost immediately.
Yeah, they're in that bush, and they're just like, huh. Yeah, that's not it. That's not the play. Respect to Mirage for recognizing that they would have been in the wrong for going for that, and they still have the Rangjun win condition, because right now Cody, not particularly a threat, doesn't have that Infinity Edge nor the Lord Dominic's Regard completed. He's going to take so long to cut through Irrelevant. But you've got Nash's Tooth and Elyandra. He's also a Zhonya's for Rangjun actually, so all the tools needed to cut through a Scion and then an extra little bit of safety too is in the Azir's back pocket. You need to go for a fight around this third inhib, otherwise we're going to see the same thing we saw yesterday, and triple inhib just kills you anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be a case of how do you want to die this game. Death by 1,000 cuts for Mirage if that inhib goes down. I'd like to see Misfits Premier just a little bit of caution. Don't go too heavily here. You saw yesterday, in their game 2, it was the case that Vanda got caught out, and that meant the game ended up being slowed down to a point at which it wasn't beneficial for them. I think they're in the driver's seat now. They just need to not put their foot on the pedal too hard.
The wave play from Rangjun is certainly going to be fairly difficult to deal with, and Bad Lulu as well. Just able to act as a front line. Never going to look too easily to get this turret down. Going to be waiting for that Baron to 50 seconds on that one. And Misfits Premier, with being so far forward, you have complete control of this topside jungle. Unfortunately, look at the wards on the map. Bad Lulu has a really good TP ward into the really good opposite side.
Well, that could just be Raxo getting one shot, by the way. We can't quite find it. Graves W is able to deny the ultimate. Their Rangjun goes in, but he gets counter-engaged on. Couldn't find the Shrima shuffle. Memento and Bad Lulu are caught here. Wulite has found Cody. It's a hostile takeover in the backline that's doing a lot of damage. Rangjun on the back foot here. Irrelevant is trying to find him with a decimating smash. He's going to be trying to eat out of there. Quickness is used. Irrelevant flashes forward here. Memento is getting taken low. They are onto the Nexus. The waves have stacked. The waves have synced. And Mirage are not synced up in terms of what they want to do. It's a flash forward from Vanda. We cut towards this victory screen here as Mirage are trying to find something here, but they can't quite get it in the end here. It's Misfits Premier, assured destruction. They've moved towards their win condition of late game, and they find their first win of the summer split.
Congratulations to Misfits Premier. It is all off the back of Chayek. A massive steal on the Baron. To turn the game back on its head, it was at a point when Mirage were really starting to find their feet in the game. Rangjun was starting to pump out damage. Cody was reaching a stage of relevance. But unfortunately, one Baron steal, and all of a sudden, like I say, the game just gets tipped over the edge. And Misfits Premier, with their capability, you know, able to close out a game when they get those leads, and, you know, struggling to get the leads so far this season, once they had it, they were finally able to get that first win on the board.